But I would like to see what those numbers look like if the county were to roll into a Viper environment. What I mean by that is we've got a capital outlay. Now, what many people may not realize is when you have a $20 million purchase, most people don't write checks, they borrow money. And most banking institutions don't lend money unless they've got something to come back and get if you don't pay your bill. So there's a challenge there if the county, for the county, because the county just cannot write a check for $20+ million. So the county would have to have financing, which has been part of this process as well. So giving away what we're buying is going to be a problem, or basically it is a no-go. Cannot be done. So that creates a challenge. But I still would like to see a well-formulated analysis of today's capital investment into a system versus what it would be if we did a Viper system. And again, we're not looking 5 years. I don't want to look even 10 years. I want to look 2 or 3 generations. And what I mean by that is 2 or 3 15-year evolutions. What does that look like? Because at the end of the day, the question could very easily become that while it may be difficult to make this transition happen, going the Viper route from a financial standpoint, the long-term savings could be significant. And we end up with the exact same thing, which is a win-win situation with Viper maintaining what we have. And as we grow our system, or as we grow our participation in the Viper system, we have a smaller amount of money to pay each time. And that money typically would be supported by the growth that is requiring the expansion of the system. So the revenues would fall into the coffers of the county as we needed to add another $1.5 million or $2 million site or a $500,000 improvement here or something along that line. You know, this county, in my 5 years of being on this board and prior to, I've heard a lot of negative comments about the evolution of the last decision for this radio system. And I think now is the time to pause and get a deeper look at a perspective that I have not seen yet. And that doesn't mean that anybody's anything wrong, but I'm just one vote on this board. So I would like to hear others' thoughts regarding a direction, because.
I agree with you, Mr. Chairman. I think, and I would like to sit down with Mr. Hodgson, Motorola, and see what Motorola has to say. Whether we do it in a work session, whatever we gotta do, or individual commissioners, whatever. I would like to get the lowdown on it. And that long-term cost, if we got to do this every 15 years, 18 years, or whatever, spend over $20 million, you know, it ain't much if you say it fast, but that's a whole lot of money to me.
Yeah, it was $12 million or something, or $10 million last time. Now it's 20, what is that, 22 to 20, 25?
30 next time.
30 next time. Right, so it's growing as we take these steps.
I think it might,
Yes, please, go
Madam
ahead.
Chairman, it might be helpful to remember that this process started with a request for proposals and bids that came in and an evaluation process, and our county attorney may want to comment on that, but that's the process that we're working through. So I don't know if maybe we want to revisit the pricing that we received under that, figure out what our direction should be, next steps, because so this is a statutory procurement process that we have worked under. So we'll navigate through that as we're talking about these next steps.
Okay. Any other thoughts or comments? And I'd like to hear, honestly, I'd like to hear from each one of the commissioners. You know, how do you feel? What are your thoughts? It can be one sentence. It can be 5 minutes. But I'd like to get a feel for where the board stands with the discussion.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm with you on buying some more time, but how much time do we have to make?
That's a great question. So in my world, like Mr. Hodgins said, if you've got a little leverage, people should move pretty quickly. And sometimes things need to be set aside that require very little priority for something that requires a lot of priority. So I guess I'm politely saying that people need to stop what they're doing and get us our answers. And if that means a couple of days or a week, then I think it needs to happen. This needs to become a significant priority. In order for us to maintain a timeline and meet some of the statutory things that are here in front of us, yes.
one other thing too, that other option where we turn everything over to Viper, you know, what that cost there would save us, like maintaining towers.
Long
And even, I think, cutting the grass.
Right.
He said he even does that part, I mean, cause that adds up
Yeah,
too.
we're still gonna have to maintain the grass cutting and towers, because Viper's
Okay.
moving away from
I
ownership
thought he
to
said
the
he had
towers.
grass cutters that come along
He
with it.
did, in the evolution, the beginning of it, they did, but in the last 4 or 5 years, they pulled away from that.
Okay, they don't cut the
Because they've
grass.
seen there's a lot of expense in headaches that they don't want.
But whatever they do,
Yes, sir.
just weigh that in.
Yeah, and the towers, owning the towers could be a piece of the collateral that could be of value to us, for the ability to finance, maybe a larger portion, but not the entirety, and then there's some way that we can backdoor some of the other costs and cover them through budgeting processes, and if nothing else, unassigned fund balance. Yeah, that's, Commissioner Jones, thoughts?
Chairman, except for looking at 15 years down the road, which crystal ball. But at the present time, I like the idea of having the opportunity to be participating in both systems. A county-owned system and a Viper system. I think if we as citizens allow us to purchase a system for the county, I think it belongs in the county. And the idea we can go back when we get ready, it's important. Welcome.
I greatly appreciate that, because I had lost focus of the piece, and that is that we, as a county, in natural disaster, we would have the ability to have two different systems to communicate on. If something were to happen to Viper, we would have our system, and likewise, if our system goes down, we obviously would have Viper. So that is a big piece, and that really gets back to the core of the decision that we're making here tonight, which is what we're trying to discern, and that is the safety of our users. And that's the bottom line, is their ability to do their jobs safely and communicate for the support of each other. So, yeah, that's definitely a very good point. Thank you for reminding me of that, for us of that. Commissioner Creed?
Mr. Chairman, with due consideration for the fact that the, TISA Consulting recommendation, we're getting the best of both worlds in that Viper is there if they want to use it. Myself, I don't like the idea of not having control of what we buy.
I agree. And you're basically looking at $22 million roughly, which is roughly $1.5 million a year of expense. If you had to kind of divide it out and pay a piece a year. If we're constantly going to be needing to upgrade and do and buy the radios that we're buying for the cars and the radios for the users themselves, the personnel to carry, those costs are going to be in addition to some of the other things. I guess here's the piece for the county, and when I say the county, for the people in the audience that understand this, I mean the county, the staff. I see this board as the voice of the people, not the government. And so the staff represent the government with all due love and consideration. As we move forward on big decisions like this, I think it's imperative for the county to prepare various scenarios and not get into just one lane of traffic, shall I say. And the county did a very good job of putting the RFP together. The committee did a very good job of working through that. The committee, for those who don't know, are other fire chiefs and some of our staff from 911 centers and things like that. Police chiefs, sheriff's department representatives. There's a list of about 18 or so people here. One commissioner from our board. I guess for me, from the way my brain turns, is I still would see value in seeing that number. And if nothing else, if this board decides to move forward, which I don't think is a bad thing, I still would want to see that piece. I still would want to see that piece so that this board has some reference moving forward in the future that can help it better understand what decision it would make in the next 10 or 15 years. Because they can see what the option was here and what the option was there. So I think think that's something we still might want to consider. All right, everyone had a chance to share. So I'm gonna ask you the question that I ask very often. What is the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I might get shot down, but I think we have studied this enough. We've gone through it for months. I'm gonna make a motion that we accept Tusa Consultants' recommendation and authorize the county manager to execute the contract.
All right. Hearing a motion, is there a second? I'm gonna second your motion, Mr. Pierce. And I'm gonna second your motion based on two things. One is the ability for this county to have the ability to talk on two different systems is at the very root of the purpose we're here at tonight, which is to give our users that ability, undiscriminatory. And in doing that, we are achieving our goal twofold. We are getting what they need and what they've asked for. There is a small group that likes Viper. They're more biased to the Viper. We're giving the access to Viper. We're giving the rest of the public service community and users access to the system, both of which are basically identical as far as the user's end ability is. The other thing is that I'm concerned about is the county's ability to do Viper from a financial perspective, because giving up those resources that we are financing, we would not be able to finance. And that's gonna create a hardship on the coffers of the county to provide this level of service and support and utility of a service system to our users. I do wanna see an analysis, and I would like for it to occur in the next 30 days, just so this board has a reference, because that will help us understand it. But taking $22 million over 15 years, hopefully, versus $32 million over 15 years, it's a much smaller number. If it is tolerable, it's a lot more tolerable than $33 million is. And at the end of the day, we can move forward with getting this system and its necessary pieces in place, capitalize on excellent financing opportunities that the county needs, and creating the groundwork for what the future will do, decision will do. So, sorry for being long-winded, but that's my second. So, ladies and gentlemen, there's a motion and a second on the floor to accept the recommendation of Tusa Consulting and authorize the county manager to execute the contract. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? All right, the yeses have it, and it's so ordered. All right, I want to say thank you to everyone, to the committee, to staff, to Tusa, to Mike Hodgson, who I guess he already left. I missed him, but I think he had to wait for me here. And to the county manager. I think she went a few minutes without breathing there. She was not expecting that from me, I promise you. But this is why it's so important, ladies and gentlemen. It's so important to really get in the weeds, and it's important that this board takes the time to get in the weeds. And it's my passion for us to live in the weeds. Because it's not about making a decision for today, it's about making a decision for the next generation, and the generation after that. We cannot do that if we're looking at our feet. As we say in the Marine Corps, if you're looking at your feet, you're going nowhere. We have got to be looking forward. We have got, what's in our lane and at our feet is gonna happen. You just have to keep walking. But you can determine how you walk if you look ahead. So, with that, again, thank you. Anyone, if you all are in the room and would like to go now, I'll take a breather here and allow you to go back to be with your families. And again, thank you to everyone, each and every one who's had touched this piece of work here tonight. I think we've done a great thing. Yes, oh, absolutely.
Chairman, give me a couple of weeks and we'll get you that analysis.
That's perfect.
Yes, sir, I understood what you want. We'll gladly put those numbers together for you.
Be very helpful.
Yes,
Anyhow,
sir.
thank you and safe travels back home.
Appreciate it, thank you.